I'm honored to speak following a musician who speaks with such passion and conviction of his work. My name is Martha Rands. I'm a lawyer in private practice from Vancouver, BC. I am the legal director of the Artists Legal Outreach, which is a project providing summary legal advice to artists in all disciplines, out of the Alliance for Arts and Culture in BC. We represent over 350 members from all the disciplines, large, medium, and small, creators and arts organizations. In the past 3 years, we've provided advice and led workshops for artists, several hundred. In the province, the largest per capita number of Canadians who identify as working artists. We ask you to return to Vancouver and hold a town hall in Vancouver before September 13th. We ask you as well to hold a town hall that engages directly with individual creators in all disciplines, dancers, musicians, writers, poets, the many, many thousands and thousands and thousands who are not online, who are sitting in their studios, who don't know that this is going on. For the 30,000 that have hits on the website that I heard referred to, there are dozens and dozens, thousands, tens of thousands upon those tens of thousands more who are interested and have a role to play. And they aren't necessarily represented by collective societies, industries, unions, and guilds. You have yet to hear from the many unrepresented in this country, I would suggest, having reviewed much of what has been written on that website, which is difficult to navigate, note to the technical folks. I would say that copyright is not well understood by the public or artists. It is not understood in terms of its implications for the musicians as they go through their careers. It is not understood by students who are trying to access material who think they are paying for it through their tuition. It is not necessarily understood by software engineers who think their code is the same as sampling a piece of music. I would suggest that what we need to do, whatever the reforms are, Mr. Minister, we need to put some funding and resources together to ensure that there's public legal education around copyright and what it means. I would suggest, Mr. Minister, that those funds be directed to arts and culture organizations on the grassroots level locally. So in Vancouver, in Winnipeg, in the Northwest Territories, in Nunavut, so that Indigenous artists can have a role to play in how they understand copyright and what it means. I'm getting there. We need to, and part of that process will enable us as a community to engage around best practices of what works and what doesn't, and why we need reform and what reform might mean to us. This, I would suggest, would address much of the answers to the 5 questions. So again, come to Vancouver. The Alliance for Arts and Culture would welcome you.
Thank you. I didn't put my foot down, so to speak, because I don't see anyone else at a microphone. So
16 seconds left.
Mine says something different.
Yes, and I would suggest that
there we go.
We need to be looking at the public domain and a larger understanding of the cultural commons and what that means, rather than focusing, strictly speaking, on innovation and creation.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. If I don't see 160 or 503, I'll go to the... Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Come right to the mic as soon as you see your number. Thank you. Yeah. Shh.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophie Millman. I'm a local jazz artist, and I would like to talk about extending the private copying levy on devices such as iPods. Yeah. Thank you. As an up-and-coming artist in Canada, I face a multitude of challenges in order to create music. I have to incur the exorbitant costs of touring. No one gives me a break on accommodations and hotels. I have to support my band in a way that's fair and helps them meet their own financial obligations. I have to record music. My label helps me with this, but the label itself is a small indie and is therefore constantly strapped for cash. I need to incur the cost of promoting myself and my music. Websites are expensive, and so are publicists. The music I make has value, I believe. Otherwise, people wouldn't be buying it. People listen to it, and people want to make copies of it. I think that's great. But I deserve a fair compensation for the work that I do. I receive compensation if you make a copy of my music onto a CD or an audio cassette, but I get nothing if you copy my song onto an iPod. How can one copy have value and the other not? I did some research and would like to put things into perspective for you. Over the last 4 years, approximately $12,000 was disbursed to my label by the CPCC, thanks to the levy on blank media just for my records. For my indie label, that can mean the difference between supporting a tour or not, funding a recording or not, and for many artists, that kind of money can determine whether they can pay for the clothes for their kids, whether they can pay rent, or put food on the table. Even though I'm a relatively successful Canadian jazz musician, if I weren't married, I couldn't afford to pay rent. Making music, supporting it, and touring is very expensive no matter how you do it, whether you fly or you take a bus. And just like everyone else out there who is doing honest work that brings value to people's lives, and all of us agree that music does that, I believe that I deserve to be paid. And that's exactly what royalties are. They're not compensation for lost sales, but they are earned income from my work. This is my livelihood, and the private copying levy is part of how I continue to make music. I can only do that if the private copying levy is extended to cover digital audio recorders, which are rapidly becoming the most popular medium for people to enjoy music. This is my work, and I deserve fair compensation when it is used. I truly don't think that a one-time fee on something like an iPod, onto which thousands of songs can be stored and then erased, and then thousands of others can be stored, I don't think that's too much to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Is participant number 503 passing? I will assume so. So we'll go to the net. Nicole?
Yes. So the first comment is from Richard from Brampton. Distributors use digital rights management to police users, but DRM software often installs itself without the user's permission, does not provide a way to uninstall itself when the protected content is removed, can leave consumers vulnerable to system crashes and viruses, and even can control how many times a person can install or use content he has legally purchased. In addition, if the content provider goes out of business, the content becomes useless. What protection will the bill offer consumers from overzealous DRMs? We have another comment from John from Toronto. University of Toronto Press is Canada's oldest and largest publisher of scholarly books and journals and publishes over 165 titles annually. The model for scholarly publishers relies upon a combination of world-renowned authors, the ability to sell books to niche markets, and government support. Clear copyright legislation that reflects the digital age is required now. We hope the legislation continues to foster the creativity of authors such as Marshall McLuhan by giving right holders the right to monetize their content if they so choose. Failure to do so will not only stifle creativity, it will put the livelihood of a great many Canadians at risk.
Thank you.
My name is Tariq Moinadeen. I'm a law student and I'm here just as a general individual. I'd just like to say that in the coming legislation, I don't think any kind of levy on media or internet service would be a good idea. In my experience, I have never paid for the CD levy that has already been in place. It's not an intentional thing, but any store I've gone to has not put any surcharge on it, hasn't been placed on it. And were a fee to be placed on an iPod, and were it, say, something substantial, I would have no doubt whatsoever that it would be just brought in from abroad, purchased on, say, Amazon.com and shipped to Canada, which would negate the purpose of the levy and make it meaningless. Similarly, for internet access, I don't believe that a levy would again be useful. The vast majority, I'd say, of uses on the internet are not copyright infringement, and so to take a levy on that and then distribute it to people who have no relation to the activity in question, there is no connection between myself sending email to someone or checking up on the news and paying someone else for their musical works when I'm not consuming any of it. And so taking that in the form of levy is just another form of taxation that we as consumers don't need and would not appreciate. Thank you.